Welcome to the Sports Degos with Salty and Josh.
Good luck. You're gonna need it.
This is Chris Hansen from Bleacher Report, and you're listening to Salty and Josh, the Sports Degos.
I gotta clean my garage. That sucks.
They have a radio show you can't refuse.
Are we haters? I don't consider myself a hater, because in sports, you never want your rival to win. Shut your mouth. I want to do some talking once in a while, huh? You're killing me over here. You're killing me over here.
Hearts are played, tippy tippy tay, like a guitar.
Hi, this is Russell Baxter from ProFootballGuru.com. You're listening to Salty and Josh, the Sports Degos.
Welcome to the Sports Degos. I am your host, Sonny, sometimes referred to as Salty, but you know, that's the old moniker, the new moniker, my old moniker, my new old moniker that I've had my whole entire life, Sonny. Hey, Sonny, who's your co-host, huh? Hey, Murph, are you in the studio?
Sonny, I'm here. I'm in the studio. I'm present, and I'm thankful to be back once again in the Dego Dungeon to talk a little bit about sports, to talk a little bit about cocktails, talk a little bit about being Italian, to talk about all the beautiful things in life. It's a good day.
It's a great day to be alive, Murph. Because let's face it, what's the alternative?
Dirt nap.
Dirt nap. It's like you're watching the Oakland Raiders offense in 2012 with Greg Knapp. I'm taking a dirt nap. Oh! Josh, Murph, I'd rather pick my nose till I got a scab on the inside than watch Greg Knapp run an offensive routine. And I can speak validity to what I just said, Murph. Because this week, and you know, Murph, I'm going to put myself out there. I pick my nose. I know you do too, and I know probably 98% of the 3 listeners listening to this podcast pick their nose as well. We all do it. So anybody who says they don't pick, they're lying. They're lying through their teeth. If they say like Jerry Seinfeld said, "Oh no, it was an itch. I was itching the outside of my nose." Yeah, BS. I'm calling it. Everybody picks. But this week, Murph, I got a little too crazy. And you know, I don't know if I was bored, driving around too much in my truck, but man, I got up there. Not 2 knuckles. It was still 1 knuckle. But I got up there, and I was going to town. And then all of a sudden, it started getting tender. Like, my nose was hurting and stuff, you know? I was like, I think I'm getting sick. You know how when you're getting sick, your sinuses start acting up and stuff, you know? So I think I'm getting sick. Then I notice I'm not getting sick as the days go by. It's just my nose is tender. And then I go back to pick again. It must be just natural, and it hurts. And then just now before the show, Murph, I blow my nose, and literally blood and a scab comes out of my nose. Can you believe this? It's crazy. It's crazy.
Sadly, I can't believe this. And not only is this radio gold, but man, that's kind of nasty.
It's freaking disgusting, Murph. This is what I have to live with. This is what my wife, unfortunately, has to put up with on a daily basis. And God bless her soul. I give her 20 minutes of the whole entire day, and 5 of it is spent in the room after I farted, smelling my fart. Like, she literally gets like 10 good minutes a day with me. I don't know what she lets me, but she does. Anyway, Murph, welcome to the Sports Degos. Glad you could be here. Our studio audience is happy. The children are sighing once again. Life is good, Murph. Life is good. Unless, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to concur. Things are lovely. You know, spring hasn't quite sprung yet, but we're close. We're getting real close. The grass is starting to come back a little bit. The weather's starting to get a little less rough. And baseball is just around the corner. In fact, tomorrow morning we got Little League evaluations in the morning. I attended my first college baseball game this past weekend. And we're getting there, man. We're getting there. We're climbing out of this hole of the midwinter sports gap. And we see baseball on the horizon in the NBA and NHL playoffs. So we got good things ahead. We just got a little bit further to get there. But things are going to be good.
Murph, could you say that baseball is in the on-deck circle? Hey, come on now. Come on now.
Hey.
I don't know about you,
Try to
Murph.
fish.
I grew up big baseball fan, playing it all through elementary school. But baseball, unlike soccer, still maintains its coolness after elementary school. And, I followed the A's and stuff. And then, got to be a teenager, kind of fell away from all sports pretty much. Always watch football, though. But now I'm really starting to like baseball again. And I don't know if it's because I'm getting older, I'm more mature, I'm slower, whatever it is. My attention span can focus longer or whatever it is. Man, I'm loving baseball again, and I'm stoked. And I seen a picture the other day of the A's with a beard. Josh, JJ Redick had a big beard. It wasn't just a beard.
Josh Reddick.
Josh Reddick. It wasn't just a beard. I was thinking JJ got the basketball player. Yeah. Reddick had this burly beard, dude. Did you see it?
Man.
Yes. I mean, it was cool. It was cool.
Absolutely, yeah. He's got the long hair going and the big beard, wearing the. Was another picture of him wearing the belt, the WWE belt in the dugout. Yeah, good stuff, man. It's really, what I really like about it, and I think we're going to get into this later on about facial hair and baseball and things. But it really kind of harked back to the A's of the 70s, and that was kind of always one of the hallmarks of those teams, whether it be Raleigh Fingers or, Catfish Hunter or Vita Blue and all these guys and all that, and like their facial hair and the character they had. And Joe Rudy had long hair. And, so I really like the fact that the A's have kind of tapped back into that vein. And, yeah, absolutely. Excited for baseball and excited to see what our Oakland A's are going to be able to do this year.
Last year was almost as good. Oh. I'm not even going to jinx it, but that was good. Phenomenal, right? That series with the Rangers at the end of the year. Oh my gosh.
Amazing.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I'm stoked. We'll get into that later. All right, Murph, as always.
Yes.
I don't know who should go first here. I better go first.
You better go first.
I'm going pretty fruity tonight.
I'm in the fourth spot.
I'm going pretty fruity tonight, Murph. I'm going real fruity tonight. Tonight, all the way from Nehalem Bay, Oregon, I'm drinking, Josh Murph, a alcohol that has 11% by volume. It's pretty tasty. It's a white wine, Murph, and being Italian, we should be drinking red wine. I'm kind of going against the grain tonight. I'm drinking a white wine, and I'm afraid to say what flavor over the air. But
First off, the fact that you're drinking flavored white wine, that's a start. So we're already on the downhill slope, but go ahead and finish this off.
What'd you say? I'm the fluffy one tonight. I'm the fluffy one. I'm drinking a white table wine with peach juice is how it's described, Murph. And let me tell you what, when I swirl and smell it and then taste it, gosh darn it, if I don't like it very much. I'm not sorry. It's tasty.
Well, and it's good that you're drinking wine instead of drinking beer, because then you don't get bloated and you can still fit into your skirt.
Well, but I get kind of buzzed faster because I don't drink much, so a glass of wine, I'm pretty good. So we better keep this to about 20 minutes and get off the share. Anyway.
Get off the share?
Yeah, get off the share. See what I'm saying? It's going to get bad. Gosh. I've had two sips.
Don't give Sonny peach wine for crying
out loud. I've had two sips.
He'll start slurring, and then next thing you know, he'll be redecorating your house.
Yeah. All right, Murph, give us some credibility. What are you drinking?
I'm gonna bring it back. First off, I'm gonna introduce you to a little sound here. See if you can hear this. All right, that, my friend, is the Cream of Manchester, my all-time favorite beer. Sonny, I went to the beer store today and I was looking for Guinness Black Lager. I saw a commercial for it on the air, And I thought, I hadn't tried that yet. And I enjoy a good hearty beer. And I thought I'm going to go look for some Guinness Black Lager. Well, I walk into the beer store, and wouldn't you know it, the first thing that pops out at me, the bright yellow can, that Oakland A's yellow, that Fightin' Bananas yellow can, Boddington's Cream of Manchester Pub Ale, one of the very first beers to put the CO2 widget inside of the can. So what that sound was right there, when you crack the can, that CO2 comes flowing out of there, and then you get all that nice big heavy draft pour to it. So when you pour it into a pint glass, it sets up in your pint glass like a Guinness. So you get that big head on top and all the bubbles flowing down the side, and it's just a big, thick, creamy, gnarly, blonde beer. It is absolutely delicious, and so, man, I'm telling you, you can't beat a Boddington's. Can't beat a Boddington's.
It's impressive, Murph. It's impressive. I won't lie. It's a good thing you're drinking that this night with me drinking my a white table wine with peach juice.
Well, pub.
Hey, shut up! Shut up! Shut up! Shut up! Okay, continue.
I was just going to say, pub draft, imported from Manchester, England, or peach wine from Oregon.
It's on the coast. I know out there in Tennessee you're used to moonshine and stuff like that, But,
that is true. That is true.
We like the finer things in life over here. Rain. We like rain and wine. Rain and Tillamook cheese and wine. That's about all we like over here. Anyway, we love our sports. So tonight, this morning.
Have that in common.
Yes, we do. This morning we have multiple topics to talk about. We're going to talk about the ladies, Murph. How the ladies are going to win the weekend. We're going to talk about the NFL Combine, Murph. It's going on this weekend. Does the Combine matter? Do people even go to this thing? How much is it even referred to or referenced or taken into consideration before playing a guy? I mean, you watch him in college, sometimes in high school, you watch him for years, but does one weekend really raise or lower a guy's draft stock? We'll talk about that. We'll talk about David Price not wanting to play for the Yankees because of his facial hair. Doesn't matter. Is that too much to ask as an owner of your baseball team? Is that kind of like, hey, we're so good, unless you dress this way and look this way, we're not going to hire you. You see it every day in the working world. Dress this way, look this way. But in baseball, really? Come on. Murph, and we're going to speed through all of these topics because we're going to cover extensively the only proper way it should be covered. The Denver Broncos and their 2013 draft plans. We are going to dissect that thing like a frog in 9th grade biology. We're going to cut it up, dissect it, cut off the legs of it, look at the inside and out, and give you a thoroughly good analysis of the Denver Broncos and what they're going to do in the draft in 2013.
As only the Denver Broncos deserve from a couple of fans, of NFL fans like us. The Denver Broncos had a resurgence with the appearance of Peyton Manning this last year at the quarterback position, and we really, really, really want to give all due respect of our time. In fact, we had even considered maybe doing an additional podcast strictly on the Denver Broncos. But anyways, we're going to try to get to it all tonight. There's so much to cover, so just bear with us, all you Bronco fans. Hang in there with us, and we're going to get to it at the end of the show.
Good. And then we'll go to a quick commercial break. When we come back, shut your fat mouth, fat of the week, and whopping historical fact of the week here live on the Sports Degos.
Hey, you're listening to a podcast with Sonny and Murph. They'll make you a podcast poop. Hey, you're listening to a podcast with Sonny and Murph. They'll make you a podcast poop.
All right, guys, we're back at the Sports Degos. Murph, how'd you enjoy the commercial break?
I enjoyed the commercial break. It's always good to hear from Coach Salty. During the commercial break, I had a chance to kind of get caught up on some of the chatter that's going on. Guys, we got a few different chat places where you can chat about the Sports Degos on our Spreaker page, of course, Twitter, and also our Facebook page. You can see us on Twitter at the Sports Degos. You can see us on Facebook at Facebook/the Sports Degos. We're even on iTunes now. You can find us on iTunes.
Are you serious?
We're on iTunes, man. We're kind of going big time with this thing.
We're partnering with Apple.
We're partnered up with Apple. That's right. Anyways, you could search for the Sports Degos in the iTunes store or Marketplace and find us there. So I got caught up a little bit with some of the chat. One of our loyal listeners, Mr. Tim Huell, big Cincinnati Reds fan from the West Coast, wanted to tell us that he was a diehard Reds fan since 1971, and Warsteiner is his favorite beer.
Warsteiner. Nice. Thanks for the commentary. You know, Murph, it puts a little more pressure on me to step up to the plate because I know we got a listener now. That's fascinating to me.
You should have felt pressure to step up to the plate and not drink girls' wine before we started the show.
Hey, shut your fat mouth, huh?
I'm just saying.
Shut your fat mouth. Why don't you talk to us about shut your fat mouth, huh? Since you can't shut your fat mouth, put it to some good use. What's going on?
All right, here we go. We got a couple this week. Shut your fat mouth, Roger Clemens. Roger Clemens.
Who?
Seriously, are you
still
trying to remain relevant? Are we done with this guy yet? He brought up that earlier this week, I think it was on Monday, Mike Piazza came up and said something about, getting into a fight with Roger Clemens. And Roger Clemens said, well, if Piazza wants to fight me, he's going to have to stand in line because there's plenty of guys already in the Yankee locker room that would have wanted to have fought me. So I say shut your fat mouth to this. Not only is this guy trying to still remain relevant by making these offhand quotes, bringing stuff up that happened in the World Series in the year 2000 when they played the Mets, instead of bringing stuff up that's old to remain relevant. Roger Clemens, to me, is one of the absolute he is the beacon of what's wrong or what went wrong with baseball in the 90s. And as much as I loved Mark McGwire when he played for our Oakland A's, I couldn't stand him when he was with the Cardinals. When he showed up to testify in front of Congress and he said, I'm not here to talk about the past. And, Sammy Sosa showed up and couldn't all of a sudden speak English. And, all that stuff that happened. And Roger Clemens capped it all off. He ended it all off with his scandal and, just an absolute tainted portion of baseball. So for this guy to still be chiming in, shut your fat mouth, Roger Clemens. No one wants to hear from you. Just go away. You and the entire steroid era of baseball, just go away.
Is Roger Clemens, or let me reverse it. Is Lance Armstrong the new Roger Clemens? A guy that's trying to stay relevant, maybe in his mind trying to do the quote-unquote right thing, but way too late and doing it way wrong?
Yeah, I think a lot of these guys do it way too late and do it way wrong. And you know what I don't understand is that, we are a forgiving country. We're going to forgive Manti Te'o. We're going to forgive, whoever. We forgave Pete Rose. We forgave whoever has committed, whether it be crimes against the sport or crimes criminally, like what Ray Lewis went through, whatever the case may be. When you look at Ray Lewis, that is a perfect example of what I'm talking about. That's an actual redemption story. He was forgiven. Now, granted, he still had his critics after they won the Super Bowl, and during their whole run, he had plenty of criticism. But for the most part, he gained acceptance back amongst the fans. And the reason why was that he kind of owned it and stayed in front of it. And you can argue that whether what actually happened or not that night. But the point is, though, is that he never shied away from it. He said what his story was. He was the people that he was supposed to testify against were found acquitted anyway. So the thing was kind of put to bed, and then he kind of responded in a positive way and increased the positivity in his life and his image. And these other guys that just continue to lie, just go down the path of lying, whether it be Roger Clemens or Lance Armstrong or Mark McGwire, those are the guys that you can't forgive. Look at Pete Rose. All of a sudden, Pete Rose has been forgiven because he finally came out and admitted the fact that he gambled on baseball. Andy Pettitte got indicted at the exact same time as Roger Clemens. Andy Pettitte fessed up to it. I don't hear anybody clamoring for Andy Pettitte to shut up. He's not getting shut your fat mouth of the week. But Roger Clemens is, because he continues to lie, continues to steer away from it. Man, if you make a mistake, just own it. Get out in front of it. The denial is always worse than the crime. Every single time in sports life and outside of sports life. So anyways, Roger Clemens, shut your fat mouth.
Yeah, shut up. Retire well. You know what's sad, Murph? And I realize this now as in my 30s. As a kid, you don't realize this. As you get older, as you become a man, as it takes some guys a long time, in my 30s, just became a man. There's playing well and retiring well, and there's playing well and not retiring well. I mean, I just think Lawrence Taylor, what did he get busted with? That underage prostitute? O.J. Simpson, murder. I mean, geez Louise. Mark McGuire, roids. Sosa, roids. I mean, they were still playing when they were getting accused of that. Clemens, roids. Armstrong. Like, you look at these guys, Pete Rose, these guys who are idols, and maybe that's our mistake, but these guys who, growing up, you're like, man, this guy's a superhero, right? We're trained to love superheroes. Superman, Batman, Green Lantern. We're trained to love superheroes. And so as a kid, if you play sports, you're naturally going to look at superheroes. But it's sad to watch when these guys are done playing sports, and for whatever reason it is, for maybe it's they were coddled too much as a young kid, and they didn't learn how to deal with the pressures of life or whatever. They were had yes men all around them, and then when they retire, they don't have any yes men no more. But there seems like an influx, and again, it could just be because I'm getting older now, and maybe media is more attentive than it's ever been. But guys don't retire well, and doesn't that taint their legacy? I mean, it takes it away, right? It has to. It can't. But then you have guys like Barry Sanders, who goes out and you never hear from him. And so, I don't know. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, absolutely. I think and guys there's certainly more of a platform for you to not retire well nowadays. With the influx of social media and the way that the media coverage is nowadays, these guys can easily get jobs as commentators and as analysts and things like that. So there's a lot more there's a lot more platforms for them. Not only to get out, but there's also a lot more coverage of them. Why is anybody even interviewing or being around Roger Clemens and taking the time to note comments like this and put them in an article? You know what I mean? So it's I think that 30, 40 years ago, you may have had guys making comments like this, but there's not somebody right there to all of a sudden pop it up on the internet, because it would have had to have passed an approval process to make it into a newspaper. So it's less likely that these types of things are going to get out. So yeah, I think it's probably that guys are, I don't think any of them have ever retired well, but it's certainly the exposure that they have and everything that we have from a technological perspective really just kind of adds fuel to that fire and really gives them the ability to get this stuff. I found this story because it was trending on Twitter.
Yeah.
So there you go. So there wouldn't have been that opportunity for it to 20, 30 years ago.
I mean, I think some guys retire well. I mean, Barry Sanders. You don't hear from him. And
guys, Jerry Rice has done well. I mean, there's a lot of guys.
Well, but even him, he came out now and sided with Tim Brown against Callahan and stuff,
Who didn't retire well.
Yeah, who didn't retire well. And so it's like, what are you doing, Rice? I mean, I don't know, man. If I had $1 million or even $100,000, dude, I would go to an island and drink margaritas and probably peach margaritas and enjoy the rest of my life with some hot women or my wife. Why do you gotta still talk? I mean, shut up. We're done with you. You're old. We're moving on. But it's like they can't let go, man. They gotta stay in. I don't know. It's crazy. It's crazy. Moving forward, Murph. Moving forward.
Fact of the week.
Says he's fat.
Who's fat?
Man, I love the fact that we're getting to fat of the week, but I had another shut your fat mouth.
You can't have two. We only got time for one. We got to cover the Broncos, dude. You better hurry up.
All right, I'll keep it brief then, but I'll keep it brief, but we got to touch on it. We got to touch on Richard Sherman tugging on Superman's cape, poking the tiger, Darrelle Revis, who missed last year from a knee injury, and Richard Sherman came out and battled him on Twitter this past week, and there was some absolute fantastic lines. I've never seen a man before run his mouth so much like a girl. This dude just steady putting my name in his mouth to get notoriety. That's from Darrelle Revis. Darrelle Revis, I ain't your competition, bro. Roddy White is. Darrelle Revis, My boy John Geiger got more followers than Richard Sherman. Sit down, young pup, and wait your turn. Was this smart for Richard Sherman? I mean, statistically, he's not wrong. He is better than Revis to this point. He probably was the best shutdown corner in the league last year. But is this smart to go after who is historically over the past, handful of years been the best cornerback in all of football, hands down? Revis Island? Is it what is his motivation? What does he gain from this? Can he gain anything from this? I kind of like the guy. I kind of like that secondary in Seattle. I like their brashness, and it kind of reminds me of the Raiders secondary back from the 70s. The Soul Patrol. These guys in Seattle call themselves the Legion of Boom. And they're all about playing, hitting hard and being brash and aggressive on and off the field. So I kind of like it, but is it a smart play? This isn't 1974 anymore. This is now 2013. What do you think?
I think it's fun, and I think part of sports is entertainment. and if we're not entertained as fans, then we're bored. And it's the off season. Both these guys are kind of irrelevant right now. It's all about the rookies, the combine, free agency, stuff like that. Some trades going on. So, these guys are irrelevant. But they're relevant on Twitter, especially Revis, who missed last year. And Sherman, kind of his name was all, he had a great year. You can't deny that. And so is it Sherman having a great year going after Revis and kind of that, I'm the top dog now, you've been dethroned? And is it Revis kind of, missing a year, thinking that he's kind of fallen, off the charts, he's not talked about as much anymore, and these guys got egos. The same reason Roger Clemens can't shut up is the same reason Revis and Sherman are on Twitter. They got egos. It's prideful. I don't know. Who's better, who's worse. I don't know if you can say that. There's some interesting stats. A couple other funny ones was Revis says, my boy John Geiger got more followers than Richard Sherman. Sit down, young pup, and wait your turn. So here we see Revis basically making a straw man argument, right? The argument was, who's a better cornerback? Revis resorts to the, hey, I got more followers than you. So, obviously if you don't have any followers. And I thought Sherman had the great comeback. He said, remember that time the number of Twitter followers mattered more than the production on the field? Me either, Revis. I thought that was classic. That was a good line. And then he also said this, got off my flight to this hilarious convo. So I have 8 picks and 3 forced fumbles and a sack. My season stats looking like Revis' career stats. And again, you can't really say that because who throws to Revis? You know what I'm saying? Who throws to Revis? But here's some interesting stats. Revis in 2011 compared to Sherman 2012. Tackles. Revis had 52. Sherman had 64. Sacks. Revis had 0. Sherman had 1. Interceptions. Revis had 4. Sherman had 8. Forced fumbles. Sherman had 3. And Revis had 0. And then moving forward, jumping down to targets, essentially. Again, these are from Pro Football Focus, and this is comparing Revis 2011 versus Sherman 2012. Targets, Revis 85, Sherman 87. So they were targeted almost dead on, 85, 87. Keep in mind, Sherman had 8 picks, and Revis only had 4. Receptions by the receiver, 35 against Revis, 41 against Sherman. And we'll come back to this in a second. Completion percentage, 41.2% for Revis, 47.1% for Sherman. Touchdowns allowed, Revis 1, Sherman 2. They're number 1 and 2 in Pro Football Focus rank for cornerbacks in those statistical categories. Revis is 1, Sherman's 2. So let me ask you, Sherman had 8 picks, Revis had 4 picks. Who do you want? Do you want the guy who gives up 1 more touchdown and gives up 6 more receptions, but has 4 more interceptions? Or do you want the guy who has 4 less interceptions, but only gives up 35 receptions and 1 touchdown on the year?
I want the guy that's going to get me the ball back. And, I'd be curious to see that, on those receptions, are those deep balls downfield? Are those for touchdowns? What's the, we always talk about one of the highest underrated stats is takeaway giveaways. And it's how much on the positive side are you of that takeaway giveaway. I want the guy that's going to get the football back for my offense. That's the guy that I want. And, if we're talking about he's going to allow 100 more, well, not 100, that's a stupid number. If he's going to allow 20 more completions, or if he's going to allow, 4 or 5 more touchdowns for those 4 picks, then maybe I think different. But assuming that everything else is pretty much average or even across the board, I'm going to take the 4 extra picks, man. I want the guy with 8 receptions because I want that ball back. I want to get that ball back into Russell Wilson's hands. So the guy that's going to go out there and create scoring opportunities for my football team.
That's what I'm saying. I want the guy who's going to pick the ball off more than I'll give up 6 extra receptions because if those are in front of you, the yards after catch are 117 for Revis and 135 for Sherman. So guys aren't running for but 3 or 4 yards after they after they get the reception. I think the math, if I'm doing it right, for every Sherman has 8 picks for 87 attempts at him, so that's about 1 in 10. He's picking the ball off. Revis has 4, so that's 1 in 20. So every 10th pass thrown Sherman's way, he's picking it off. I'm going for that, hands down. I'm going for the guy who gets me the ball back. So me personally, based on the numbers, Sherman. Got to go Sherman. Unless he's taking PEDs. Moving forward.
Fact of the week.
Says he's fat.
Who's fat?
Dun, 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 dun. I love that song. We should get that song in here, Murph.
We'll do it. You're the sound man, the producer
All
of
right.
the Sports Degos.
Go ahead. What's going on with the fat of the week?
Let's talk about fat. Would you consider 5'11", 262 pounds fat?
5'11", 2 what? 62?
262.
Josh, I told you not to read my stats on the air. Why you got to go there?
That's probably not far from it, huh?
Why you got to go there?
Congratulations.
It's muscle. I'm stocky.
Congratulations, Sonny. You and
I'm stocky.
Pablo Sandoval, Panda Bear, are fat of the week. Pitchers and catchers reported. We got guys trickling into spring training. And the San Francisco Giants have expressed a little concern about Mr. Sandoval's weight at 262 pounds reporting for spring training. You think? 262. Now, listen, there's no doubt that this guy, who's now a 2-time World Series winner, last year's World Series MVP, there's no doubt that he can crush a baseball. But as of right now, the only thing he's crushing is the buffet at the Golden Corral. Because at 262, you can't get out of your own way, Pablo. You got to drop some LBs there, buddy. 262 in our fat of the week, Pablo Panda Bear Sandoval.
Fact of the week.
Says he's fat.
Who's fat?
Murph, if you're going to do a fat of the week, you better make sure this guy's fat. Not just average fat, because I'm average fat. You gotta get fat. I can play baseball. I play all the time. I play with my thumbs on my Xbox. All right, moving forward. Murph, I got some new tunes for you. You ready?
Hit it.
You ready for these tunes? You can't handle these tunes.
Oh,
Hey,
ready.
Don't forget about this, huh? It's the time. It's the time. It's the time for the whopping historical fact of the day, huh? And this is brought to you by Ravioli and Fettuccine Alfredo.
Story, it's funny. You're a funny guy.
Murph, we know the story. It's been made into movies. We've heard it talked about over and over and over again. But Murph, today is very cool. Today, this date, Murph, is very, very, very cool. Because in 1981, what is that? 19 plus 13 is 22, 32, 30, 33! 33 years ago, Murph. 33. I've had too much peach wine. 33 years ago, on this date, in 1981 minus 1, 80. something happened that, Murph, potentially changed history when you factor in the Cold War. And oh gosh, I don't know how I want to announce this. It's so epic. It's so epic on epical proportions. It could have changed the Cold War. Who knows? Some say it did, some say whatever. It changed sports history for sure. It definitely changed the Olympics. And you know who it took to do it, Murph?
I think it took a Dego, did it not?
It took a freaking Dego. Michael Ritz Rizzo Eruzione. Do you know what this guy did, Murph?
Tell me what he did.
This man played for the 1980 Winter Olympics United States national team who did what? And what's it called? They beat the Soviets in a game that's commonly referred to, Murph, as the Miracle on Ice. Michael Rizzo Eruzione. He scored the potential game-winning goal that beat those big, brash Soviets in the Olympics. Something nobody thought the U.S. was going to be able to do. And it took a Dego to do it, Murph. He was born in Winthrop, Massachusetts, and you don't get more Dego than this. His dad was a bartender and worked in a sewage plant. For some reason, Murph, that screams Dego to me. Love it. Love it. Love it. So congratulations, Mike Ritz Rizzo Eruzione. That's all I got to say on that, Murph. Got anything about that?
Yeah, absolutely. Both you and I were too young to remember the Miracle on Ice in 1980. I was 7 years old. You were considerably younger than that. And
I was one.
You were one.
I was 8 months.
So, you were 8 months. So, but I think the long-lasting impact of that game, if anybody that's not familiar with the story, I would encourage you to go back and look at it. Watch the movie with Kurt Russell playing Herb Brooks as the coach of the USA team. The Soviets back then, there were no professionals playing in the Olympics like we have now. There was no dream teams. There was no professional hockey players playing on the hockey team. This was a bunch of of young college guys playing against a bunch of professionals from Russia, and they were the absolute best team that there was in the history of the sport. So it was an absolute upset, unprecedented and unmatched sense. So and yes, absolutely, it took a fellow Italian American to accomplish that. And it's really funny. Mr. Ruzione's dad, he was a bartender and worked in a sewage plant. I hope he washed his hands before he went to his second job. Hey.
Murph, I was a plumber back in the day. I thought, I grew up playing Mario, so I thought that was my destiny. Go ahead.
Is that where you got your pants wearing style?
Yeah. It's I was an original gangster before gangsters even existed, man. I freaking sagged my pants long before that style ever came around and stuff. FUBU Interstate, that was copying my style. Anyway, Murph, I was a plumber, right? New construction. From 18 to 21. There was 3 things they told me, Murph, when I took that job. You know what they were?
No, I do not.
I will tell you right now. Number 1, payday's on Friday. Pretty basic. I said, yeah, big deal. They said, crap runs downhill. I said, okay, big deal. And they said, don't chew your fingernails. I said, what do you mean don't chew your fingernails? They said, don't chew your fingernails. I said, I always chew my fingernails. Big deal. I said, what's the point? I'm not going to use toenail clippers. That's gross. Use them on your toes. One day I'm driving home from work after I pick my nose. I'm chewing my fingernails. And I realized why you shouldn't chew your fingernails. Hey-o! We'll be right back. Sports Degos with, the main stories.
Hey, all you podcasters, put the Cheetos down, get out of your mom's basement, find a job, do something worthwhile. Hey, if that don't work out for you, listen to Sonny and Murph. They got some good stuff, you know what I mean? Hey, all you podcasters, put the Cheetos down, get out of your mom's basement, find a job, do something worthwhile. Hey, if that don't work out for you, listen to Sonny and Murph. They got some good stuff. You know what I mean?
All right, guys, welcome back to the Sports Degos. Sonny and Murph broadcasting late on a Friday night. If you want to call in, talk about anything we're talking about, number is 971-2702-007. Number again is 971-2702-007. Murph, you're not going to get a lot of calls if you don't announce the phone number until 40 minutes into the show. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you never know. Jim Rome takes the approach of less of them and more of us, or more of him. It's a good thing. Maybe we should adopt that model. I'm not saying it's true, but at this point in the game, why not?
That's Jim Rome, though. I mean,
yeah, I know. Yeah, I know.
Until we threaten a tall, blonde quarterback who is kind of a flamer, we don't have credential and stuff, So if you could look up John Elway, that'd be great. All right, moving forward, Murph. Moving forward.
No, it was Chris Everett.
I know, but he already did that to Chris Everett. So we're gonna do it to John Elway. I'm gonna say something to him. He's gonna go. I bet you won't call me. Yeah. Well, I bet you won't call me donkey again to my face. I'll go donkey.
Bet you I would.
And then he'll charge me and try to bite me with his teeth. Anyway, we're gonna get to the Broncos here later on in the segment today.
All right.
Murph, it's ladies' weekend, ladies' night. Beyonce is gonna be singing. It's gonna be ladies' night all throughout the week, right? Half price drinks, yada yada yada, right? Danica Patrick. Pole position, right? I believe. Pole position. At Daytona. The race of all races. This isn't like the wild card playoffs or the divisional playoffs. It's the freaking Super Bowl of NASCAR. Now, granted, some people say NASCAR's not a sport. I disagree. They got to do a lot of stuff. They may not move a lot, but it's still it's a physical. It's a good sport. It's a good sport. Started from bootlegging. How can you not like it, right? Here's my question, Murph. Is it because she's a girl that she's so popular? Looking at her stats, she hasn't won. She hasn't won NASCAR in the Sprint Cup, hasn't won in Nationwide, didn't win in the Pro Series, didn't even win in the ARCA. She had one win in IndyCar from 2005 until 2011. And even the NASCAR Grand Am hasn't won. Is it because she's a girl that she's popular and she's up there? Is it kind of that, oh, this is a cute story? Or does she have skills? That's my question.
All right. Well, I'm going to take it one step even further. She's not the first female. She's not the first female NASCAR driver we've seen. She's not the first, female we've seen try to venture into a high-profile sport. But what I will say about Danica Patrick is this: she's very attractive, and she knows it. And I think that she is not only a female, but she's an attractive female. So, in a male-dominated sport with a male-dominated fan base, is she going to garner additional attention outside of just her on-track performance?
Did you just say whore? You just said outside of whore? You just called Danica Patrick a whore.
I'm just saying, that, is she going to attract attention?
Go ahead. I'm done. But you did say it. You did say it. That was awesome.
Is she going to draw attention outside? It would be you'd be looking at it through what am I trying to say?
I don't know.
It would be unfair, or it would be unrealistic to think otherwise. That it's just the fact that guys are going to look at it like that. So she, I think, though, embraces that. She does the GoDaddy commercials, anything that you see with her, like, any of the endorsements that she does in the automotive magazines, things like that. She's kind of dressed. She's never dressed scantily, but it's always like tight fitting clothing and things like that. And I think she kind of embraces that portion of it. Now, also though, she really embraces the competitiveness of her sport, and I don't think that there's anybody that wants to win as much or more as Danica Patrick does when it comes to the event and when it comes to this Sunday's Daytona 500. So I got a lot of respect for her. I think she's a little arrogant, but I think you got to be really to get yourself into those positions. I mean, all athletes are arrogant to a certain extent, but so that part of it, that could be maybe a minor detractor for. But other than that, she's proving now that she can perform with anybody at her chosen sport. She's marketable more so than anybody in her chosen sport, and she embraces that fact that, you know what? Yeah, I'm a good-looking girl, and I'm going to put on lipstick, and I'm going to kind of flaunt it a little bit. So, I got nothing but respect for her, and I'm kind of rooting for her. I mean, we're not big NASCAR guys, but I don't know why you wouldn't want to root for her.
I don't like it. I don't like it, Murph. I may drink white tabletop peach wine, but I don't like this one bit. Here's why. It taints the sport. NASCAR is like the ultimate, I'm not trying to offend you or your neighbors, it's kind of a hillbilly sport. I mean, I'm up in Oregon. Nobody watches NASCAR up here. Oregon's pretty country and stuff, but nobody really watches NASCAR. You go to like some dive bars, and that's where NASCAR's on. I'm not trying to stereotype, but it started in the South. It started with the bootleggers, and, it's rich down there and stuff, and there's a lot of, country folk who are in it, and it kind of gives it a, bad name maybe and stuff, but it's little mainstream, but I don't know many guys who watch it, right? I know a lot of guys who watch football, baseball, basketball, but NASCAR, if you even bring it up, sometimes you're made fun of. And so all that to say, it's not to knock the fan base, it's to paint the preface of what I'm saying here. A woman in that man world, in that male-dominated sport, who doesn't really win, it'd be something different if she won, but she doesn't win. She was ranked 62nd last year in 2012. She led 4 times in 2010. She led 14 times in 11 and 41 times in 2012 in the nationwide series statistics. So she actually, kind of went downhill and stuff. I don't know. I don't like it. I don't like the fact that she's good looking, but that's the only reason she's there. And to go one step further, I'll coin your line. It's the same thing with women's sports reporters now, with Erin Andrews, Rachel Nichols. All of a sudden, ESPN has all these women. And yeah, sure, they're fun to look at. If I want something fun to look at, I'll go look at my wife or look at something on, whatever. You can look at anything. You can find good-looking girls anywhere. When I want to know about sports, I don't care if it's a fat, bald man. Chris Berman's freaking amazing. He knows his sports. When I want to know sports, I want to listen to somebody who's informed. I don't want to listen to somebody who's just a painted, fun thing to look at and stuff. And to me, that's what Danica Patrick is for NASCAR.
Well, as of right now, she's proving you and any of her other critics wrong by getting the pole position at Daytona, and we'll see how she executes when it comes to Sunday's performance. And, I think she's going to answer a lot of questions, and she's going to, be able to confront a lot of those criticisms come Sunday. This is her chance. She's going to be, as you mentioned earlier, the Daytona 500 is the absolute Super Bowl of NASCAR racing, and we'll see how she does. If she falls off and finishes last, then I think there's your answer. If she finishes in the top 10, I think then there's also your answer. But something that and this is probably too broad of a topic for us or too deep of a topic for us to get into now, but I think it really lends itself to a more broader question. And what that is NASCAR a sport? Is golf a sport? Is bowling a sport? And when you look at these things, to me, there's a difference between athletic competitions and games or races. You know what I mean? Or motorsports, okay? And I don't think anyone's going to mistake some of the golfers on the PGA Tour for athletes. Are there athletes? Sure. Is John Daly an athlete? No. When I look at the major sports, football, basketball, baseball, even with fat guys like Pablo Sandoval, are those guys athletic?
He's not fat. He's stocky.
Are they faster, stronger, more hand-eye coordination, all of those things? Yes. And to me, that's the difference, is that NASCAR, does it require endurance and incredible hand-eye coordination? Yes, absolutely. Does it require strength? No, of course it doesn't. Otherwise, you wouldn't have somebody like Danica Patrick, who's like 5'3", leading right now going into this season. So I think that there's and then the same thing with golf. You got like golfers like Michelle Wie, who are phenomenal. Well, is she an athlete? Is she gonna, if you put her in an arm wrestling match against Emmett Smith, who's gonna win? So there's no strength. Now, is there skill, hand-eye coordination, again, all those things? Absolutely, and nothing but respect for those folks. But I think that's the comparison of a woman and a man competing against each other in their sport. I think that's where the defining line is that is it an athletic competition, or is it a game, or another type of sport? And so if Danica Patrick wanted to play in the NFL, obviously we all know how that would turn out.
She could be a punter.
She probably could be a punter. Or if you wanted to put Vince Wilfork in a NASCAR, we all know how that would turn out too.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah,
chicken wings off the dashboard.
Yeah, there you go. He'd drive the KFC car or the Chick-fil-A car. There you go. I'm not knocking her. I mean, do what you do, right? If they're gonna do it, if they're gonna pay you and put you in ads and freaking rock and roll, chick. She made $1 million last year, right? I mean, if you could race and not win anything and make $1 million, why not? That's not her fault. She's put in a position. She's gonna make what she can. It's just that I don't get the hype. I'm done with the hype. I'm done with the hype of Aaron Andrews. I'm done with the hype of Danica Patrick. It's not that I don't appreciate a beautiful woman, but it's just sports. Show up, be good. We like Tiger because he won. And that comment about being athletic. Look when Tiger came up, man. He had the. Well, I'm gonna go there, but
Tiger's an athlete.
He was an athlete, and that's why he won. He outdrove everybody. He came in and smoked them. But now guys are stepping up and catching up with him. So I hope she wins. I hope she does something good. I hope she does something better than she has done, because it's only going to taint her career. And she's done great. More power to her. Moving forward, the second part of Ladies Weekend, Murph. I know it's your favorite part. Ronda Rowdy Rousey is fighting Liz Girlrilla Carmouche. Eesh. Ronda Rowdy Rousey versus Liz Girlrilla Carmouche. The UFC. Murph, are you kidding me? These girls are fighting UFC tomorrow night, the Honda Center in Anaheim, California, steps away from Disneyland, and UFC 157. You know what's crazy? Side note, I remember UFC 1. I remember watching UFC 1 with Bear and Gracie's. Is this the WNBA? Here, let me paint the picture.
All right,
I like basketball. Basketball's fun. Basketball has the best athletes in that sport at any given time. LeBron James versus Kobe Bryant, Christmas Day. You're watching that game. It doesn't matter if you're a fan or not. If you're a fan of athletics and sports, you're watching that game. Jordan versus, Bird and Magic back in the day. You're fans of that because it pits the two best athletes against each other. The WNBA. I don't know if it's successful or not. I don't pay enough attention to it to know if it's successful or not. I know that I'm a big sports fan, and I have absolutely zero interest in watching the WNBA.
What's the matter? You don't like horse racing?
Horse racing is okay. It's okay. Whenever I meet a tall person, I say, "Oh, are you a horse jockey?" But Ronda Rowdy Rousey and Liz Girlrilla. If you're a dad, do you want your daughter to grow up and have the nickname Girlrilla? I don't know. I wouldn't want that nickname for my daughter, Girlrilla. So, are people interested in this, or is this just another Danica Patrick thing? Is this let's put two girls against each other? It'll be fun and cute. I mean, they look mean. I mean, that freaking gorilla chick.
This ain't fun and cute.
She looks brutal, dude. So I don't know.
No, this isn't fun and cute. This is to answer your question. Is this the WNBA? Absolutely, unequivocally, no. The WNBA is a different game than the NBA. The NBA is an above-the-rim game. The WNBA is a below-the-rim game. It is a completely different sport. When you watch the WNBA, you're not watching the same kind of basketball as it when you watch the NBA. And that's the difference. Is there a place for the WNBA? Absolutely. But when you compare it to the athleticism and the things that you can see in the NBA, it's not even close, man. And there's, is it popular? It's only popular because the NBA, subsidizes it and they force it down your throat every second they can. All you got to do is listen to one interview with Jim Rome and David Stern, and that's, it's evident there that it's not popular. It's only popular. It's only still around because the NBA continually cuts a check to float it. So, anyway, the WNBA is a different type of basketball than what you see when you watch the NBA. When you watch, and I'm so bummed I'm going to not be able to watch the fight live tomorrow night. When you watch Ronda Rousey fight Liz Carmouche tomorrow night, you are going to see the exact same mixed martial arts competition as when you watch. But do you want
to, is my question.
Yes. Why not?
Why? Because it's girls?
No, because they're phenomenal athletes. I'm telling you, that when you watch I don't know how much you're into watching the UFC.
Oh, I watch them all. I like them. They're entertaining.
Love the UFC. You love the UFC. Unfortunately, boxing has become so corrupt and pretty much just kind of dead at this point that the UFC is now taking its place. And some of the more high-profile fights, I'm telling you, there's nothing more exciting than some of the UFC pay-per-views. And absolutely. Now, I'll tell you what I don't know is whether Liz Carmouche is going to be able to make it as competitive as we hope it will be, because Ronda Rousey has proved that she can absolutely dominate in this sport at her level. And I don't think it's going to be a fight. I think this thing's going to be over quick. I think that, when you listen to her interviewed, Ronda Rousey says, well, I'm taking it one at a time, and says all the right things as a competitor. I can only worry about the opponent that's in front of me and all that kind of stuff. She's going to go in here. She's going to tear Gorilla apart. Ronda Rousey's going to absolutely dominate her. She's going to put her in an arm bar. This thing's going to be over in the first round. And yes, and I'm going to love every second of it, not because they're girls, but because of the athletic ability of these two that are going at it. Just like when I watch the Diaz brothers or anybody else that fights in the UFC, and I can appreciate what they're doing in the octagon, I'm going to watch Ronda Rousey and Liz Carmouche and think the exact same thing.
Do men make better athletes than women?
Yes.
Generally.
Generally, sure, but that's just only because genetically we're typically bigger, stronger, and faster. And now that's not to say that all men are better than all women. That's certainly not the statement.
I didn't ask that question.
I know you're not, but I'm talking to our listeners.
All I asked was, do men make better athletes than women? That answer across the board is yes. Every sport, maybe gymnastics. But men are typically stronger, bigger, faster, like you said. We're just built that way,
well,
right?
I'm not fighting Ronda Rousey.
No, of course not. Maybe if she was drunk.
You know what I mean?
Maybe if I gave her some peach wine. But you're not fighting. You're not fighting it. Both these chicks would kill me, right? So let's just put that on the table.
Yeah.
Are most gifted men in athletics better than women? Yes. It's not a chauvinistic thing. It's just men are built strong. Men are not like these utilitarian bodies, and women, whatever. So
would the best athletes at their respective sports beat their respective female counterparts? Yes, I think, unless maybe golf, which could be.
There you go. That was a very nice,
that kind of
politically way you just said that.
Right. But
Hillary Clinton would be proud of you.
When you're talking about fighting, though, if you're going to give me Nick Diaz in one corner and Ronda Rousey in another, no, I'll take Nick Diaz every time. I don't think there's any doubt.
Okay, you just answered my question. If you don't like watching the non-best athletes, then why would you even care about this women fight?
Because it's comparable. It's the talent is going to be comparable.
Not even comparable. No way.
Oh, yes, it is. Absolutely. Absolutely.
It's women fighting. I don't know. Yeah, it's cool on YouTube once in a while, and they pull each other's hair and stuff, and they're screaming at each other, but I don't know, man.
But these are strong,
weird taste in my mouth, man.
Fast, agile athletes going at it, man, and it's going to be great. It's going to be great.
I don't know. Yeah. And the bummer thing about all this, Ronda Rousey's kind of a good-looking chick. She's not a bad-looking chick.
She embraces it just like Danica Patrick does. She was the cover of the Body Issue in ESPN the magazine. I mean, she embraces it. They're no dummies. And the ones that any of the female athletes that say, "Oh, I don't want to be looked at like that," or "I don't," and I'm not talking about it in a weird way, but I mean, like, don't want to be looked at as any kind of attractive model or whatever. Why not? Ronda Rousey embraces it. Danica Patrick, why not? Why? I mean, what's wrong with that? They're not, as long as it's not weird or vulgar or anything. You know
Yes
what I
or
mean?
no? Yes or no?
Okay.
If you had a daughter, would you want her fighting in the UFC?
I wouldn't be opposed to it.
Oh my gosh.
I wouldn't be opposed to it.
You gotta move. Ronda Rousey 6-0.
I'd rather have a fighter than a peach wine drinker.
Oh my gosh, you're killing me. A peach wine drinker coming in at subpar 6 foot. post
coming
240.
in at 5'11", 262 that can't hit a curveball.
240. 5'11", I can win some Madden Super Bowls. So yeah.
They can't hit a
Yeah. The other day I had a friend come over. I was all sweaty. He says, "Man, what were you doing? Jump roping in the attic?" I said, "Nah, I peeled an orange about an hour ago." Now, Ronda Rousey, 6-0 in her pro fight career. From the most recent fight to the last fight, armbar submission, armbar submission, armbar submission, armbar technical submission, armbar submission, armbar submission. Yeah, does she know any other moves, Murph? Or are people still stupid to be throwing her their How does she get 6 arm bars in a row? That's
dominant.
Impressive.
She doesn't need any other moves.
Time out. Amateur fights. Technical submission armbar. Submission armbar. Submission armbar. Every one of her fights in the amateur, according to SureDog.com here, and in her fight history, 9 wins, all in the first round, all by arm bars.
I told you. That's why we
Is she a one-trick My Little Pony?
She's going to armbar Liz Carmouche in the first round. This thing's going to be over.
Now, Carmouche, rear naked choke. Suddenly, because she's a girl, rear naked choke takes on a whole new meaning. Just kidding.
Hey-o.
Submission, rear naked choke. TKO, punches, lost a decision. Triangle choke, submission, she lost again. TKO, punches. TKO, retirement. What the heck does that mean, TKO, retirement? The person retired right in the ring? Unanimous decision. Doctor stoppage, TKO, submission armbar. Ooh, she knows her trick. And knockout kick to the body. I'm pulling for the Girl-Rilla because I want to see some action. I'm pulling for Girl-Rilla right now. In fact,
we'll have to make a friendly Degos wager on
Here's the bet.
All right.
I got Girl-Rilla. You got Rowdy Rousey.
Okay.
Whoever loses has to sing live on the air a song chosen by the other member of the Dego team.
Book it.
And it has to be at least 15 seconds.
Book it. 15 seconds of any chosen tune. Anything.
I don't care if it's a Disney theme song from Aladdin or that one horrible 80s band Pet Shop Boys or Led Zeppelin or whatever. A cappella, you're singing it to the best of your ability.
And no playfulness. You got to sing it to as good as you think you can possibly sing it.
You got to pretend you're 12 years old and you're staying up late at night listening to music and you're singing into the mirror using your comb as your microphone pretending you're a rock star.
Well, I certainly won't pick any show tunes for you because you'll belt those out, by heart.
I could do those in my sleep.
You know them all by, yeah. The more of that peach wine you drink, the more you know about Oklahoma. Okay, I take that bet. I take Ronda Rousey versus Liz Carmouche in UFC 157. That's a bet, sir.
Oh, man, I got so many songs already ready to go for you. You're dead, man.
You don't even waste your time. This is going to be a slam dunk.
You're a dead man. Okay, moving forward. David Price not playing for the Yankees because of facial hair. Does that matter to you? Does it even care? Is it too much of Steinbrenner to say that?
Well, Steinbrenner in his book that I'm just reading Steinbrenner's biography now, actually, and he made mention of that when he took over the team, he wanted guys to get cleaned up, cut their hair, no facial hair, and that's a tradition that the Yankees have held, since Steinbrenner's passing. They've still held that thing to be true, and it's kind of always been a Yankee thing. And then, the counter to that is our Oakland A's. We talked a little bit about it early on in the show. They were known for the handlebar mustaches and the beards and the long hair, and now, coming back to it, Jason Giambi and those guys in the early 2000s really kind of started to bring that back, the long hair and the tattoos and stuff. And then now these A's of the 2013 have really tried to hark back to that, and I just absolutely love it. And David Price came out this week and said he would never want to be a New York Yankee because he wouldn't want to shave his beard. David Price always kind of has that 5 o'clock shadow going. And, I respect that. And my question back to you is it when you go into the military, you got to adopt a certain haircut and you got to adopt a certain way of presenting yourself because everyone has to remain equal. It's not about individuality. It's about the team. It's not about the name on the back of the jersey. It's the name on the front. The same reason the Yankees don't have their names on their jerseys is the same reasons that they all got to keep short hair and not have any facial hair. There is no individuality. So I ask you this, is that a good thing for a team or at the professional level, allowing, not the amateur level, but the professional level, not allowing your players to express themselves by the way that they look and the way that they present themselves, which is the better tactic? I would argue that at the professional level, that these guys are giving them the ability to express themselves and to have that individuality and to own it, and especially nowadays to be able to market themselves. I definitely would not take that away, and I don't think that robs anything from the team, especially when you look at last year. Guess who made it further in the playoffs than the New York Yankees? And that would be our Oakland A's.
I work at a place that tells me to wear a collared shirt and dress shoes. I once got reprimanded for wearing a really dark pair of Nikes. You couldn't tell they were Nikes. They looked like dress shoes. And I was reprimanded because they weren't in code, if you will. That's my job. It needs to be kind of a professional setting. And, you do things at work to work, essentially. When it comes to baseball and a game, I guess my first question is, does it matter? Right? What does it matter? Are people going to not come to games because you're not clean shaven? Remember Mattingly back in the day? Dude, I loved him simply because he was a rebel, right? Kind of long hair and stuff, and kind of go against the facial rules sometimes. And so
he absolutely did with that mustache. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, I think sometimes going against the grain gets you more fans. And is Steinbrenner kind of being a little, our team is better than your team, which is kind of the vibe that I get when he says that. I mean, everybody already thinks the Yankees are, stuck up whenever they spend millions and millions and millions of dollars, still to win championships, and the A's spend $50 million and still get to the playoffs. So it's like, what's up your freaking arse, Steinbrenner? Why can't you guys let guys shave? Is it really that big of a deal? Are you really that big of a micromanager? And is it really like, is it pride? What is it and stuff? So I disagree. Let guys look how they want and stuff. Look at Rodman. Look at Rodman when he played on the Bulls, right?
Oh my!
I mean, can you think of a harsher contradiction than Phil Jackson, the Buddhist philosopher, quiet, calm, never loses his cool and stuff, and freaking Dennis Rodman and Carmen Electra, Madonna, and different hair every game and stuff, tats, nose rings, like that dude was freaking out of control, but he killed it on the court, and so it was a perfect mix, right? Rodman, Jordan, Pippen. Sure, do your thing. Be you and just perform on the court. And that's all that matters. With the Yankees, that's not all that matters. You have to play this part, too. And I think that's the problem I have with it. It's like Steinbrenner is trying to get these guys to play a part. And play the freaking game. That's all I care about. It's fluff. It's too much fluff. That's my thoughts.
Those are fantastic thoughts, Sonny.
Thanks.
I agree. Radio's no fun when we all sit around here and pat each other on the back, but yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. Absolutely. You got to have a little bit of individuality, especially at the professional level. Give those guys a little room to breathe. Don't micromanage them. And the further I get into Steinbrenner's book, the further I realize that this guy was the ultimate micromanager. But yeah, absolutely. Madden used to tell the Oakland Raiders, I got two rules. Be on time and play like hell on Sunday. After that, he didn't care what they did. And that's, I think, the way that you got to look at the professional athlete is that it's not up to me to motivate you. You got to motivate yourself. It's not up to me to dictate how you behave as long as you behave appropriately when it's necessary. You know what I mean? And that's ultimately it. You want to have long hair, you want to grow out your mustache, you want to do who cares? You want to have tattoos, you want whatever, man, knock yourself out. Just go up there, perform, do your job. As long as you do your job, I don't think anybody should ever criticize an athlete. And good for David Price for coming out and saying that.
Yeah, I think that's pretty cool. He came out of the closet. Just kidding. All right, Murph. Moving forward. Oh, just so you don't chicken out, I put it on Twitter, Murph. I put our bet. It's up there. Salty222 has Gorilla. The Raider Gamer has Rowdy. Whoever loses has to belt out a song for 15 seconds chosen by the other. I'm thinking some Neil Diamond, Murph. I'm thinking
Sweet Caroline.
Yeah. Don't give us a preview. We want to continue to get listeners before next week, please. So easy there, Tiger. Easy. All right, moving forward, real quick. The Combine. I want to touch it briefly because we have to talk about the Broncos. The Combine. Does it matter? Is my big question for this. And I get that it's a time to showcase. It's a time everybody's there. There's tons of people there, yada, yada, yada. Does it really matter? I mean, you've watched this person perform in-game for 4 years now. I mean, obviously you're scouting them since they're freshmen and stuff. You hear about them, you're watching them. I don't know how it exactly works, but I would imagine they have access to every game they've ever played, probably since Pop Warner. And so as an NFL agent, is there anything you haven't seen yet on tape? And probably live. I imagine they go to the games too. They have to, And so it's like, what does the Combine matter? Is it more of just another thing, a dog and pony show, right? Look good. Hey, do this interview. How much can you bench press? How fast do you in the 40 time? But we all know there's 40 time, and then there's game speed, right? It's completely different. And so is the Combine just this big media circus? I think you got the stats on the amount of media that were there and stuff, So what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, just a few years ago, there was a couple of dozen, media credentials that were handed out at the NFL Combine, and this year in Indianapolis, there are over 800 media credentials that were passed out. Maybe next year it'll be 802. Maybe the Sports Degos will show up at the Combine. Is there a place for it? Absolutely. It's been going on an awful long time, and is it relevant? Absolutely. I think that where it does a couple of things. Do the scouts have their minds made up on certain guys? Yeah. But is there a chance for some of the smaller guys, some smaller school guys, or some of the guys that didn't quite garner as much attention throughout the course of the year as they wanted? Is there a chance for them to kind of elevate their draft status based on a Combine performance? The answer to that is yes. And so I think it's a really good opportunity for guys from these, from these smaller programs or these less observed programs to get out there and to really get some attention. When you look, just simply look back to last year and look at what Russell Wilson did in the Combine. Look at what RG3 did in the Combine. That really kind of it really set in stone what these guys were going to be as far as the draft position goes. And so I really like that aspect of it. What I don't like about it is that it kind of provides a little bit of a lose-lose for some of the already high-profile players. When you look at a guy like Matt Barkley, will it benefit him to go and throw at the Combine more than it will benefit him to throw at a USC Pro Day? If he shows up at the Combine,
he ain't throwing though.
Well, I know, but here's what I'm saying. The reason that he would choose against it is that if he shows up at the Combine and throws well, he's kind of expected to show up at the Combine and throw well. If he shows up at the Combine and doesn't do so hot, all of a sudden he takes a major hit. Where when he does his Pro Day at USC, it's a controlled environment. He's familiar with the coaches. He's familiar with the receivers. He's on his home field. Like, there's a lot more familiarity there and a lot more chance for him to be successful in his workout. So I don't like the fact that these guys don't throw. I don't like the fact that these guys back out of certain workouts as long as it's not due to injury. If it's due to injury, then I don't begrudge them one bit. But as long as if the guys that back out of those workouts, I don't like it as a fan because I want to see them do it. But at the same time, I kind of understand it because there's not really an opportunity for them to jump up. It's like, is Matt Barkley going to elevate his draft position by doing well at the Combine more so than doing well at his Pro Day? I don't think that there's a big difference there. So, of course, he's going to choose to throw only at his Pro Day. So, the Combine's pretty cool, and I'm looking forward to it. I'm not going to be able to watch it, unfortunately, but I'm going to get it DVR'd. And, it's a fun thing to tune into. And, obviously watching the guys' 40-yard dash times and that kind of stuff, especially the NFL Network is awesome, man. They're so good in their coverage, all the run stuff, and, tuning in to watch Rich Eisen do the 40 and all that. And and all this Leon Sandcastle stuff that's been going on. I'm curious to see if Dion's going to maybe, go and run it. How funny would it be to see Dion dress up in that Sandcastle costume and go and run the 40? So, anyways, there's a lot of fun and playfulness to the combine as well. But, as far as its place and, the relevancy of the league, it provides a nice little stopgap, as far as the off season goes. We get to tune in, we get to see familiar faces, and so hey, the more football, the merrier in my eyes.
Yeah, I agree. It's always fun to watch. Let me ask you a question. Barkley not throwing, does he get knocked for that, or does that even matter?
No, not at all. I mean, he's by far, on a long list of quarterbacks that choose to not throw at the combine and throw at their pro day only. Sam Bradford's one. Sam Bradford did not throw at the combine, and he threw at his pro day only, and he was the number 1 overall draft pick. So, I mean, it's not unheard of. It happens, on the regular. So, no, I don't think he hurts himself one bit. I think he's only going to help himself, really.
Hey, Murph.
Yeah.
You're a Raiders fan, right?
As big as you are.
Given the recent success, or actually, I'm sorry, the historical success of USC quarterbacks, do you hope the Raiders draft Matt Barkley to follow in the legacy of Todd Marinovich, Matt Leinart, and Carson Palmer?
Oh, my gosh. And to top that out, those are just the guys that played for the Raiders. How about Mark Sanchez? Yeah, that would have been a good.
Oh, gosh.
Oh, my gosh. USC quarterback. No, I want our Oakland Raiders to stay honestly, I want them to stay a mile away from every quarterback in the draft.
I hope so, too.
This is not a good quarterback draft. If the Raiders picked the wrong year to have the number 3 overall pick, wish we would have had it last year. The Raiders need to stay away from the quarterbacks, need to stay away from Geno Smith, stay away from Nassib and these other guys that are out there. Maybe look at a guy like Tyler Bray out of Tennessee, a 6'6" guy, absolute monster arm, somebody to bring in that they can develop over a year or two. It could probably grab him in the 4th round or something like that. Other than that, the Raiders need to stay way far away, trade out of that number 3 spot, acquire some more draft picks, or if they are going to draft somebody at 3, get an impact player on defense and especially pass rush. That's what the Oakland Raiders need, not a stinking quarterback.
Murph.
Yes.
Trivia question.
Okay.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14.
You counted to 14, so you got at least one shoe off.
I'm going to name you 5 players. No, I'm going to name you 6 players. Tell me what they all have in common.
Okay.
Stanford route, DeMarcus Van Dyke, Jacoby Ford, Fabian Washington, Darius Hayward-Bay, and Bo Jackson.
All drafted by the Oakland Raiders and performed one of the top, I'm going to say, 15.
Give me a sub. Give me a sub. Sub what? What time?
Oh, sub 4.3. I'm going to say, and of the all-time combine 40-yard dash performances, of those guys were all top 15 guys and all drafted by the Oakland Raiders.
That's correct, sir. Good job.
I do what I can.
The Darius Hayward-Bay, 4.30. Fabian Washington, 4.29. Jacoby Ford, 4.28. DVD, 4.28. Stanford route, 4.27. Bo Jackson, what was he, 4.12, I believe?
Yeah, that was digital scoring, but
yeah.
But he did run. He ran a
4.18.
Well, I was going to say he ran a 1.2, and then he ran a 1.8 later on time separately. So yeah,
just to prove it, right? Just to prove it. Just to prove it. Gosh, that guy would have been amazing.
Brutal, dude.
So yeah, we'll be watching the combine. We'll be looking to see who the fastest guy there is, and hopefully he'll be a Raider. Speed kills. Maybe not in real life, but it sure helps us in Madden, right? Ayo! All right. Last topic of the day. You know, when I do show prep, I usually spend 20, 30 minutes. I pay attention to sports all week, so it's not hard to do show prep. I just write down what I want to talk about. We talk about it, send over the information, print it out, and we're ready to go. This week, Murph, gosh, we spent 14, 15 hours researching the Broncos. You took offense, I took defense, you took kicking special teams, I took punting special teams. I mean, we dissected the heck out of the Denver Broncos and their 2013 draft plans.
Oh my gosh, it was almost like having a second job this week. I mean, I really just spent so much time on it. Absolutely.
But at the same time, it wasn't a job. It was so much fun, wasn't it? I mean, it was
you kind of get lost in it, once you start looking into the because part of studying this year's draft is that you got to look at the Denver Broncos from a historical perspective.
Of course, you have to
really looking at what they've done over the years. You just get lost in it. It's just so rich and just such an incredible history of this football team. And man, I'm telling you, that was just a lot of fun.
It was like making out with my wife. You just lost track of time. It was phenomenal. Anyway, Murph, we're out of time. So thanks for tuning in to the Sports Degos tonight. We're not going to be able to get to the Denver Broncos, but next week, Murph, we'll probably cover maybe the Niners draft choices or somebody else. We'll hopefully get to the Broncos next week. But
maybe Pittsburgh.
Yeah, maybe Pittsburgh. That'd be good. Appreciate you tuning in tonight, Murph. Staying up late. Good luck with those tryouts tomorrow. And until next week. Oh, and I'll be getting your song ready, Murph. I'm thinking maybe some Barbra Streisand.
I'll be getting your song ready as well. And quick, before we go, look for us on iTunes. Search for The Sports Degos. Look for us on Twitter, @The Sports Degos, Facebook.com/The Sports Degos. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we need some likes on Facebook because I think my wife said if you don't get 50 likes by April, then you gotta stop doing your show. So we need 50 likes on Facebook by April. But that's another story. Until then, Murph, we take over the world.
We're taking over.